Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay. So yeah, thank you all for joining. And today we will continue for our Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1, Chapter 17 verses. Hare Krishna Mataji, my humble obeisances to you. All glories to Prabhupada.
Thank you so much, Dinanath Gauranga Prabhu, and to all the devotees assembled. Please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, the savior of the whole universe, and all glories to our wonderful Guru Maharaj, who is giving us the knowledge that Srila Prabhupada is distributing to the whole world. So my humble obeisances, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Again and again, I offer my obeisances at your lotus feet and humbly beg for your mercy, for your blessings, for your empowerment, so that I will be able to speak something that is truthful, beneficial, and pleasing to all of you, and thus please Gurudev. Hare Krishna. So as Dinanath Prabhu said, we are continuing our reading of this very, very powerful, very educational, very enlightening, and very purifying. Because as we read this, we understand where we need to also correct ourselves, because this is actually teaching us what will root out the symptoms of Kali from this age, which is so beset with problems. Let's begin with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashta Praeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. 117.24, and it goes as follows. Tapa shaucham daya satyam iti pada krite kritaha adharmam shaistrayo bhagna smaya sangha madaistava. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the age of Satya, truthfulness, your four legs were established by the four principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. But it appears that three of your legs are broken due to rampant irreligion in the form of pride, lust for women, and intoxication. Purport. The deluding energy or material nature can act upon the living beings proportionately in terms of the living beings falling prey to the deluding attraction of Maya. Moths are captivated by the glaring brightness of light, and thus they become prey to the fire. Similarly, the deluding energy is always captivating the conditioned souls to become prey to the fire of delusion. And the Vedic scriptures warn the conditioned souls not to become prey to delusion, but to get rid of it. The Vedas warn us to not go to the darkness of ignorance, but to the progressive path of light. The Lord Himself also warns that the deluding power of material energy is too powerful to overcome. But one who completely surrenders unto the Lord can easily do so. But to surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is also not very easy. Such surrender is possible by persons of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. These four principles of advanced civilization were remarkable features in the age of Satya. In that age, every human being was practically a qualified Brahmana of the highest order. And in the social orders of life, they were all Paramahamsas, or the topmost in the renounced order. By cultural standing, the human beings were not at all subjected to the deluding energy. Such strong men of character were competent enough to get away from the clutches of Maya. But gradually, as the basic principles of Brahmanical culture, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness became curtailed by proportionate development of pride, attachment for women, and intoxication, the path of salvation or the path of transcendental bliss retreated far, far away from human society. With the progression of the age of Kali, people are becoming very proud and attached to women and intoxication. By the influence of the age of Kali, even a pauper is proud of his penny. The women are always dressed in an overly attractive fashion to victimize the minds of men. And the man is addicted to drinking wine, smoking, drinking tea, chewing tobacco, etc. All these habits, or so called advancement of civilization, are the root causes of all irreligiosities, and therefore it is not possible to check corruption, bribery, and nepotism. Man cannot check all these evils simply by statutory acts and police vigilance, but he can cure the disease of the mind by the proper medicine, namely, advocating the principles of Brahminical culture or the principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. Modern civilization and economic development are creating a new situation of poverty and scarcity with the result of blackmailing the consumers' commodities. If the leaders and the rich men of society spend 50% of their accumulated wealth mercifully for the misled mass of people and educate them in God consciousness, the knowledge of Bhagavatam, certainly the age of Kali will be defeated in its attempt to entrap the conditioned souls. We must always remember that false pride or too high an estimation of one's own values of life, undue attachment to women or association with them, and intoxication will divert human civilization from the path of peace, however much people clamor for peace in the world. The preaching of the Bhagavatam principles will automatically render all men austere, clean both inside and outside, merciful to the suffering, and truthful in daily behavior. That is the way of correcting the flaws of human society, which are very prominently exhibited at the present moment. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Chandramauli Swami Niti Namini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we can understand from this very powerful verse and purport how important are these four principles of religion: austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. And therefore, when we come to the Hare Krishna movement, what is it that we are first told? Prabhu, chant Hare Krishna and avoid these four sinful activities, right? Immediately, what we are told, avoid meat eating, avoid intoxication, please do not gamble, and please do not engage in illicit sex. These four things are immediately told to us because it is not possible to get clean while indulging in impure activities, in sinful activities. So the Vedas are constantly warning the living entity, and they're asking us to come out of the darkness of ignorance and come into the light. And what is that light? To understand who we are and what is our home and what is our relationship with the Lord, and to engage in the process of bhakti. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. I remember in one retreat, Sachinandan Maharaj was singing this, and it made such a deep impression in my heart that Maharaj is speaking these timeless, eternal words from the scriptures, where the Vedas are pleading almost that do not remain in falsehood. Come to the truth, come to the true understanding. Don't remain in darkness, come into the light. Do not keep going into the cycle of birth and death, repeated janam, repeated mrityu. Come to eternal life. Such a beautiful exhortation to the conditioned souls to remember this is not the real you. You think you're this body. You think you're American, Indian, Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, Japanese, Norwegian, Dutch, German, French, whatnot. But this is just temporary. You're not man and woman either. You could come back into any of the species of life. So, this human form of life being very valuable, dear spirit souls, make your life successful. So, these Shastras have come to teach us how to get out of darkness, how to get out of repeated birth and death, and to come back to eternal life, which is actually the spiritual birthright of every living entity. Every living entity has dormant love of Krishna. Yes, even the insects, the earthworms, the reptiles, the birds, the trees, every living entity has dormant love of Krishna. But they are covered over heavily because they are in lower consciousness. But man, being made in the image of God, can reason. He is given the power to think. He is given the power to analyze. He is given the power to engage in critical analysis and understand who he is, what his relationship is with God, and what he must do to get back what he has lost, the kingdom of God. So, because Maya is very, very strong, Lord Chaitanya has come. The most merciful form of the Lord has come simply to awaken the conditioned soul. Jeev Jago, wake up, sleeping soul. And how does he do that? By engaging everyone in this Harinam Sankirtan, by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Congregational chanting of the holy name is there to awaken the spirit souls to come back to their constitutional position. And one who takes advantage of this process in the association of devotees begins his journey back home, back to Godhead. So here it is said that the deluding power of Maya is very strong. That's why we need sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha, sarva shastra koi, lava matra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. So once we come into association of devotees, we begin to like, wow, this is such nice association. Nobody is trying to exploit me. Nobody is trying to extort money from me. Nobody is trying to cheat me here. Everybody is trying to serve the Lord. We want to remain in this association and learn more and more. What is making these devotees so happy? How they are so enlivened all the time? How can they work so many hours without stopping? Advanced devotees, you can see, they're so absorbed that just the service itself makes them so happy. They're not asked for nothing except to serve the Lord. Once I was speaking to some of my relatives, they say, what do you all do on Sundays? I said, we don't have any Sunday, Saturday like that. Every day we serve the Lord. They said, oh, really? Every day? No breaks? I said, we don't want breaks. We're very happy doing what we are doing. You cannot pull a devotee away from his service. He becomes so in love with his service that even if someone comes and says, let me give you a break, no, 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 I want to do this. Thank you very much. But I'm so much in love with my service. In fact, we fight over service. I'm not giving this service away like this. So the materialists, if they had to work like devotees, they would be dead in 1 week. They cannot do it. 14 hours, 16 hours, they cannot do it. Why? Because devotee runs on spiritual energy. Hmm? The materialists have to psych themselves up every day just to get up and go to work. And what is their reward? Just few chips here and there and some little sense gratification, and then again, same thing day after day. And even that pales after some time, because how much can you indulge in those things? The body will not allow. After a certain age, you cannot even do those things that you did before. So the materialist progressively becomes more and more disgruntled, disappointed, frustrated, discouraged. And he thinks, what is this life? Well, devotee becomes more and more enlivened, encouraged, enthused. Huh? Age doesn't cause any problems for devotee because he is actually becoming closer and closer to Krishna. Hmm? On the other hand, the materialist is aging, and that frightens him even more because now he can no longer do things he did before. So this is the difference between material life and spiritual life. And Srila Prabhupada is teaching us the principles of dharma and the principles of God consciousness so that we at least can show the world the right way to live. And this is now critically important in this terrible age of Kali because the darkness has become overwhelming. And Srila Prabhupada said this. He said, historians will note that this Hare Krishna movement saved the world in its darkest hour. So who is the Hare Krishna movement? Devotees. Devotees are taking all risks and with great difficulty in the face of tremendous odds are doing Harinam Sankirtan, distributing books, giving prasadam, preaching to people, engaging all kinds of people in devotional service. They don't care how degraded is the neighborhood, how sinful the people are, how undeserving they are, how inimical they are. They still go out on Sankirtan and give the holy name, give the books, give prasadam. Making the unfortunate fortunate is the job description of a devotee. What's the job description of a devotee? Making the unfortunate fortunate. This is our business. And we owe it to Srila Prabhupada, who gave his life so that this Hare Krishna movement can be established all over the world, to do everything we can in service to him. So let's go further down into the purport. These four principles being upheld will make our institution very strong. Purity is the force. Utility is the principle. Books are the basis. And the preaching is the essence. That's what Prabhupada said. So this is the way we can counteract what? Intoxication, meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, and with it comes inordinate pride, inordinate vanity, great arrogance, and tremendous attraction for the opposite gender. When it says attached to women and intoxication, it means women being attached to men also and getting intoxicated. You will be amazed to know that when I was going to college, girls and boys wouldn't even speak to each other. It was taboo. But nowadays, you see, even in India, girls, boys freely mixing. I have seen with my own eyes, they are smoking together. They go to pubs, they drink, and who knows what all goes on after that. I'm told that everything that happens in the West is happening in India also, which is very sad because India is the land of spiritual culture, spiritual knowledge. And here also Kali is now wreaking havoc and causing so many difficulties and problems. Same problems everywhere. Women are becoming more and more unchaste in their dressing. Even in Mayapur, I'm seeing so many people, so many crowd. I mean, it's very crowded now. So many pilgrims. They're coming, but if you look at the ladies, they're all wearing Western clothes, tight, unchaste clothes, revealing the body. What you will say, what is this, Mataji? You're against Western clothes. But this Western style of clothing simply increases the six enemies. Hmm? Lust, anger, greed, illusion, pride, envy. Huh? Minds get agitated. It simply increases all these symptoms which are inimical to spiritual life. On the other hand, chaste clothes increase our tendency towards a pious life, increase our tendency towards spiritual life. That is why Srila Prabhupada was so particular that we as Vaishnavas should dress very nicely in very chaste, clean clothing with nice tilak. Prabhupada liked that very much. Kanthi mala, wear the kanthi mala and keep the hair short. The men were told to shave up because in this age of Kali, men keep hair very long and the women are the opposite. Nowadays, in this age of Kali, it's the opposite. So, the dress, the lifestyle that we are now showing to the world, thanks to Srila Prabhupada, is sending that message. Srila Prabhupada said, just as when you see a policeman in uniform, immediately you know he's a policeman. Similarly, simply seeing the devotees, they should know immediately, yes, this is a Vaishnava. This is a person of God. This is a person who is following the process of Bhakti Yoga. And only by this Krishna consciousness movement can we reverse the effects of the age of Kali, which is fraught with so many difficulties. Huh? There is one great redeeming feature of this age of Kali, which we will share with you. Let's go to 12.351 of Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is described, my dear king, this ocean of Kali Yuga is simply an ocean of faults. But there is one great redeeming feature. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can attain to the transcendental kingdom of God. So, here we go. My dear Kaledosha Nidherajan Asti hi eko mahan gunaha Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Rajet. Translation, my dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. And it's a very short purport, but very telling purport. After mentioning the innumerable faults of this age of Kali, Shukadev Goswami now mentions its one brilliant aspect. Just as one powerful king can kill innumerable thieves, one brilliant spiritual quality can destroy all the contamination of this age. It is impossible to overestimate the importance of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, especially in this fallen age. So this is the Yuga Dharma for this age of Kali. This is the panacea for all the ills of this age. This is the one brilliant spiritual quality that can destroy all the ill effects of Kali Yuga, keep us protected and safe on the path of bhakti as we slowly, little by little, make progress on the path of bhakti. And yes, it is not easy. Nobody said it was going to be easy because we are so influenced by many, many lifetimes of trying to enjoy the material energy. We think, I am the proprietor, I am the controller, I am the enjoyer, I deserve to have this, How dare he do this to me or she do this to me? I will get it by hook or by crook. I am meant to have this and nobody can take it away from me. I will compete and I will beat him down and I will come out on top. This is all the whisperings of Kali in our ears. This is the tendency of this age of Kali. Well, devotee is trying to completely change all these things and become the opposite. What does devotee want to do? Become very meek and humble and say, my dear Lord, I am just your servant. You are the controller. You are the proprietor. You are the enjoyer. And nothing belongs to me. I am not meant to enjoy anything separate from you. I am not the controller. I am not the proprietor. I am not anything but your servant. Once we understand this, then there will be peace in the world. Peace formula, 529. Let's go to 529. Hmm? In that beautiful purport as well as beautiful verse, what does Srila Prabhupada explain to us? He's saying that only one who understands this can experience peace. He attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Huh? Fifth chapter, verse number 29. It's called the peace formula. भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसां सर्वलोकमहेश्वरं सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमृच्छति. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So people need to hear this knowledge. People need to get Shastric knowledge from Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad Gita to understand how to conduct themselves with dignity and in a dharmic way, in a principled way, to clean up their act, so to speak, and to lead a life of austerity, cleanliness, mercifulness, and truthfulness. As Prabhupada explained, you can't just keep on putting laws into place and throwing people in jail and again putting laws in, because these things will not change the heart. These things cannot change the heart. Just making laws and enforcing them cannot bring about transformation of the heart. Cleaning up the heart requires emergency medicine called Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Once, Radhanath Maharaj explains he was at some airport and he met the Minister for the Environment of India called Maneka Gandhi. And he describes that encounter. He himself says, very powerful lady. She asked me, what are you people doing for the environment? You Hare Krishnas, you are just chanting and doing all these things. But what about the situation in the world today? Look at what is happening to the world. What about the environmental crisis? What are you all doing about that? And so Maharaj went on to explain that the present crisis at so many levels, one of which is environmental, is actually symptoms of a spiritual crisis. Because man has not understood the goal of life, nor does he know how to control his greed. Therefore, there's rampant exploitation of Mother Earth. And because man doesn't understand who he is or what is the purpose of life, he's gone berserk, insane, and he's destroying his own habitat. And then finally, she got convinced to understand that what the Hare Krishnas are doing is the most important thing because they're cleaning people's hearts and teaching them the godly way of life. Only when this change happens on a mass scale and people give up sinful activities and elect God conscious leaders, then we can see a change in society, because as the large mass of society practices God consciousness, then we can expect peace and prosperity on the earth. You cannot rebel against God, destroy everything inside, do any sinful activity and expect God's mercy. It's not going to happen. Just like in a family. If all the children are rebellious, disobedient, are destructive, you think mommy and daddy are going to be very nice with them? They're going to be very heavy, very strict, punish them, teach them discipline, to bring them in line. So that is what is happening in the world today. We cannot expect to have peace and prosperity if we do not follow the laws of God. Because the rules and the material nature has very stringent rules. For every action, there's a reaction. So all this slaughtering and all this meat eating and all this killing is destroying what? Mercifulness. Intoxication destroys the principle of austerity. Gambling destroys all truthfulness, and illicit sex destroys purity and cleanliness. So when these things are present, how we can expect world peace? The leaders of today, because they are blind, they are leading people into blindness themselves. So many of the leaders have absolutely no idea of a God-conscious life. Just a few years ago, the Prime Minister of UK, he was, caught in some scandal, and he was on his second marriage or third marriage, and his first wife and his children went on to say that how disappointed they are with their father and husband. The wife was very bitter, and in no uncertain terms, she spoke of him as being of very despicable character. These are the leaders we have today. Look at our Donald Trump, just before this present, I don't know if he's still around, who knows what is going on there, but he was married 3 times, 4 times. We don't know what is going on with him either. When we have such unprincipled people whose only reason for being in power is to become more and more lusty and greedy and exploit people, how we can expect a peaceful, prosperous society? It's not going to happen. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada is saying that this God consciousness should be propagated everywhere. Sinful activities should be severely punished. In fact, you will see further down in the further verses, Srila Prabhupada explained that the leaders of society should be ready to kill miscreants, immediately punish them, so that this nonsense is not allowed to proliferate. Today, what we are doing? We are mollycoddling and pampering the criminals, and we harass and exploit the innocents. This is Kali Yuga for you. Very, very dangerous, very precarious situation has come about in the world today, and it is just absolutely overwhelming, the need for Krishna consciousness. So as devotees, we have a very, very special and very unique role to play in world history. Yeah, we are making history here, because we are trying to turn the tide of Kali against all this nonsense and pull people back onto the path of God consciousness. So this is a very great mission. Srila Prabhupada has given us a very great mission to perform, and each and every one of us we may be very small, that is all right. We may be very, very tiny within ourselves. We may not be able to do much, but whatever little bit we are doing, we put our heart and soul into it. And that's what makes the difference. So we are all called upon to take Krishna consciousness seriously, practice very seriously and sincerely ourselves, and that becomes great encouragement for everybody around us. And don't think that, just because I will quote Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj directly, because Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's Vyasa Puja just happened. He said, don't think you're so small that you cannot perform miracles. This is a direct quote from Maharaj. And he's a living example of that. He took it so seriously that he went on to become the first African American Vaishnav Guru, and he made such a huge impact then, and he continues to impact the world through his books. He was ahead of his times, far, far ahead of his times. And he met world leaders, political kings, celebrities, rock stars, even Muhammad Ali, the famous boxer. Everyone practically of importance, he was ready to meet and give them his mercy in the form of Krishna consciousness, pure Krishna consciousness, because this is what is going to change the world. So thank you all for listening very, very patiently. I think, I hope I have covered all the points, and I hope this was somewhat enlivening and beneficial for you. Hopefully, we can have a nice discussion. Please feel free to correct me for whatever mistakes I have made, and forgive me if I have disappointed you in some way. And we can open up for questions and discussion. Thank you very much. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for a very wonderful and very thoughtful insight. Some of them are very thought-provoking things that you said for us to reflect. So thank you very much for that class. So dear devotees, we can, as Mataji said, we can open up for Q&A questions. You can raise your hands or you can ask your questions in the chat window. I would appreciate if we can turn our cameras on so we can all interact in a more personal way. If you are in a position where you can do so, so I would humbly request if you can do that. So Mataji, whilst the devotees contemplate on the question, I have a question in the sense of Prabhupada writes, and you also mentioned as to how appropriate clothing, especially from women, is required and why, and also you give an example of Mayapur and other places that we see across India as well. But many times women, and even within our organizations, they would say that man has to be controlled. Why should we have modesty? Why should we dictate, the society dictates in the way that we should dress up? You should be trained up. Men should be trained up. They are of weak minds. And we hear these arguments all the time. So what would be your view on that? How can we look at in the aspect of what's going on and following the traditions, but also, yeah, keeping a peace of mind for us and for others as well around us? So that's my first question, Mataji.
See, the present travails of society are because of one, lack of God consciousness, and also breakdown of family values and the breakdown of the family safety and security that existed in times before. Today, many of the young girls do not have any protection, and many of the young girls are left to fend for themselves. In other words, there is no father and mother to protect them, guide them, help them, as well as arrange for a proper man to marry the girl and to take care of her. This is not no longer existing, practically speaking. And so the women think by showing their bodies, they can attract a man because this is what they are reduced to. That is one thing. Secondly, men also are of this, because of the degradation that has happened, men also feel attracted by the female form and feel that, oh, someone who has attractive bodily features will make a good wife. But actually, we know that it's not the external things that will make a good marriage. The man's character, his sense of responsibility, his understanding of Shastra, as well as the woman's understanding, her maturity, her ability to be responsible Grihastha. These are the things which will make a marriage happen. But in the absence of this guidance, in the absence of proper societal values as well as protection, women are going astray. This is what Arjuna also said. Women will become polluted. And to just blame the men saying you should control yourself when women are going around half naked. Why are they going around half naked? What is the reason for that? Why do they feel the need to show off their bodies? It is because of low self-esteem, lack of protection. A woman who shows off large parts of her body to attract a man, what is the message she is giving the world? I have no self-worth, and the only way I can attract a mate is to show off my body. And then what is the quality of the man who will get attracted to her just by, on the basis of physical attraction? So this is a recipe for disaster. So both men and women need training. And both men and women, especially the young children, need so much protection today. It's really a very, very sad situation because families are practically non-existent. Boys need training, girls also need training. And chastity and modesty is taught in the home. When a girl sees her mother behaving, in a way that is modest and chaste and respectful of others, then she has a role model. But if mama is running around at the age of 30 and 40, showing off large parts of her body, trying to attract her second or a third husband, what is the girl going to learn? Similarly, if young boys see their fathers abandoning them, many men make the woman pregnant and then walk away. They go on to have more and more mates and more children, and the boy grows up without a male figure in the home. He doesn't know what it is to be a man. He doesn't know what it is. And therefore, today we are finding the feminization of men because they are with women all the time. They don't know what it is like to be a In fact, they expect the women to take care of them. Such a man, even if he grows up, now he looks to the wife to take care of him just as the mother took care of him. He cannot perform his role and responsibility. So all these are very difficult problems of Kali Yuga, and the greatest havoc is being at the societal family level. Kali is destroying marriages, destroying the family, destroying society, and causing great damage to children, families, and our future. That is why there's such a great need. Krishna Nandini Mataji, seeing all these things, started the Grihastha Vision team simply to turn the tide and establish strong families in ISKCON. In fact, she coined the term healthy marriages, happy families, strong ISKCON. Because this is our building block. This is our building block. Remember, in ISKCON, 99% is Grihasthas. Only a small percentage is brahmacharis and sannyasis, very small percentage, and maybe some vanaprasthas like that, but the majority is grihasthas. This is where our future is forming. So if we don't take care of our children nicely, what's going to happen? Kali is going to pounce on them, already is pouncing on them. We are losing a lot of young people to drugs, alcohol, illicit sex, all bad habits. So many things are happening. I don't want to go into all that. But to answer your question, both men and women need training. One cannot blame the other.
Yes, Mataji. No, thank you very much. I know, yes, there is a balance to be had on both sides with the right mindset and attitude. So thank you very much. So Namrata Mataji, you have a question, and then Sonal Mataji can go next. So please go ahead and ask.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, my camera is not working properly. One sided only, it's working one side. I'm really sorry for that. Thank you for this class. This is really a powerful verse. Talking loudly about this four principles of Dharma. But there's one statement in this purport which I really need to understand properly, which is the modern civilization and economic development are, creating new situation of poverty and scarcity, which with the results of blackmailing the consumers' commodities. So I kind of have the idea, but I think really on the surface. So can you give me a good elaboration on this, please? Thank
Yes,
you.
very nice question. Yes. So, because this whole society is based on greed and exploitation, commercialization of everything, including food and medicine, which are supposed to be free, what is happening is the corporates are creating a situation where everything is becoming more and more expensive and less available. This is purposely created by them. In fact, there are records where they actually burn large storehouses of grain, milk powder. They have been shown to throw milk powder into the sea just to keep the inflated price going. Rather than give it to those who need it, they do things in order to make commodities become more and more expensive and less available. And this is all done to get money. It's all done to get money. So this blackmailing, this is what is being said. So things are available on the black market if they are not available in the open market at very high prices, just to line the pockets of these extremely greedy people. And they're doing this on purpose. There's enough food. Srila Prabhupada said, this earth can sustain 10 times the present population. There is no scarcity. They're creating an artificial scarcity in order to gain materially and causing so much distress to the people of this age. So that is what is going on actually.
Thank you. So that is why I think it's written in the next line that if 50% of the amount is spent for spreading the this spiritual knowledge, then the society will be benefited. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
got it. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for this understanding.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sonal Mataji, you can go ahead and ask your question. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, my obeisances to all of you. Just a quick one regarding this raising children. We have been taught since childhood that a male child and a female child are equal, and we normally try to raise them equally. But clearly, the principles of raising a girl and a boy are different. You have to differentiate at various level, because later on in life the responsibilities are going to be different. So how can we put this into practice? If you have any insights according to your own experience, Mataji.
Yeah, because children need to be trained for their future roles. If they choose grihast life as husbands or wives, or even just members of our Krishna conscious society, they need to understand what is expected of them. Hmm? To become emotionally mature, to become responsible is not a small thing. It's a very big thing. And both boys and girls should slowly get trained to become fully functional adults and carry out their responsibilities, whatever they have been given very nicely. And further than that, if they want to go on to become husbands and wives and fathers and mothers, they must understand their role of taking care of the family members very nicely. That the husband is meant to protect the family members, to be the spiritual leader of the family, to give spiritual knowledge to his dependents, and to lead them from the cycle of birth and death. Same thing for the mother. Even a mother is meant to give spiritual knowledge and train her children nicely in Krishna consciousness, while each carries out their role and responsibilities as best as they can. Given this present Kali Yuga, we cannot dictate to men and women that you should stay home and you should go to work. We cannot say such things, because every family has to navigate that territory, and every husband and wife have to work out, what suits them, what is best for them in those circumstances. Sometimes a man has a lot of patience to sit and teach homework with the children, which is traditionally a girl's generation, a woman's work, so to speak. And some women I know, they say, I have just no patience with his homework. I cannot sit with him. I get angry. I get frustrated. So I would rather do this other thing. My husband is very good with the kids. He sits and he does the homework. So I'm not going to go there and say, oh, wow, what is all this? No, this is what is working for them. So they have to see what works best for their parenting and family responsibilities. They have to decide how the things should happen. But in general, we encourage that mothers should pay sufficient attention to the upbringing of children, be there for them, raise them nicely in Krishna consciousness. And it is the father's responsibility to be the provider and the protector, and to lead the family in Krishna consciousness by his own example, by following his spiritual master nicely, by taking the instructions given to him nicely, and engaging the whole family in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada says, if every family, just in the evening, just once in the evening, come together and do Harinam Sankirtan in their home, they're guaranteed peace and prosperity. So I personally, being part of Grihastha Vision team, and this was started in North America, because as you know, a lot of Western influence is there over there. So we cannot impose traditional wife at home, you cannot go to work, you cannot do this, that kind of thing. What we encourage is Yes, if you want to use your talents and skills in that way, but try to work from home so that children have a mother in the home. You know, latchkey kids, they feel so deprived of parental love. To leave children at the mercy of babysitters and daycare and all that is not really giving them the best possible outcome, because we don't know what is the level of care going on. So every parent has to navigate and see what is the best for them and try their level best to give their children personal quality time. There's nothing to replace that. You can't buy it, give them gifts and stuff when they're craving for your personal attention. This is just my humble take on it. Maybe you can
So
ask
you are
Guru Maharaj also.
so you are saying that we should navigate. First of all, we need to be clear as parents. We need to be clear of our own duties, and then according to the place and circumstances and the child's need or children's need, you have to kind of navigate through it individually. So it's kind of a tailor-made thing for the every child and every family.
Yeah, but no, but in general, we encourage that the presence of the mother, especially when the children are small, from 0 to 5, especially, is a very tender, very sensitive, and a very delicate time in a child's life. And the presence of a steady, consistent, loving, affectionate caregiver is invaluable, because this goes on to establish what is called a secure attachment for the child, and he or she then goes on to become an emotionally stable adult. But in this time period where the child is so dependent emotionally in every way, if there is inconsistent parenting, or if there is absence of parenting also, what is called an anxious, insecure attachment happens, and the child goes on to have innumerable problems later on in life. So it is not advisable to relegate the parenting to a daycare or babysitters and things like that. For small portions of time in an emergency, that's different, but on a consistent basis, the parent should be available, especially when raising small children. As the children grow up, a mother has more flexibility. When the children are in school, she can take up something, but as long as they are small, they need her attention. There's no getting away from that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice question.
Hare Krishna. Namrata Mataji, you still have your hands raised. So do you have another question? If so, you can go ahead.
Yes, I have another question. Thank you, Prabhuji. So my question is, we have four regulative principles, and the literal meaning is definitely clear to us, but there are subtle aspects of these four regulative principles as well. So, how can we understand, or can you please tell some subtle aspects of four regulative principles? Which, I mean, some things which devotees sometimes, subtly don't know, and they, that is breaking of four regulative principles.
You know what Guru Maharaj says? Watching television means breaking all four regulative principles.
Yeah, I know. That is why, because Guru Maharaj asked me, told me this, I have to ask this question to you. So sorry for that. Coming for elaborated explanation from you.
Yeah, he says that, television is so full of all the nonsense that is happening, and they call it entertainment. They show soap operas and films where people are routinely indulging in intoxication, meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, and it is touted as though something great is happening. Huh? All these doxas, celebrities, whatnot. Even the news is like that. So, watching television means breaking all four regulative principles. Even on a subtle level, we can find ourselves gambling. When we are wasting time, we are gambling with time. Isn't it? So, we must be extremely careful how the material energy is deluding us, and not allow her to get the upper hand. Not allow her to get the upper hand. The other day, someone gave me a little, I was visiting someone's home, and they gave me a packed drink. You know, it comes in a little carton with a little straw attached to it and all. It's in there. Please take this drink, you know. And then I came home and I was not sure, is it offered? So I called them up. I said, is this drink offered? No, 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 it is Bhog. You can offer it. So then I said, oh, okay. On the outside, it looks like a nice pomegranate drink, you know. There's a picture of pomegranate and all. Then I turned around and looked at the ingredient, caffeine. This drink has caffeine in it and is not suitable for children. Can you imagine? And a devotee is giving me this. Anyway, so maybe she was not so, you know, conscious. I say I may be, you know, a little charitable when I say that. But how you can take things without even realizing happens. Supposing I had to take that drink without knowing what was in it, I would be breaking the regulative principle of no tea, coffee, intoxicants, isn't it? Isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. So, like this, there are so many products. If you look closely, they have gelatin. Gelatin. Huh? They have, what is that? Another thing. I forget the name. Soy lecithin or something. Anyway, these ingredients are actually coming from the bones of animals and some of them coming from the fat of animals. I mean, all kinds of things out there. And we, as devotees, we have to be so particular that we are not putting those things inside us which are prohibited. So, watching what we eat and drink, watching how we spend our time, money, energy, resources, certainly not indulging in any kind of illicit sex, and no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. These are the pillars of our Krishna conscious life. So we have to be so careful to maintain our consciousness very nicely. I'll share with you a personal example. You know, whenever I used to travel by flight, which happens when I go for disciples meeting or some preaching engagement, I don't have TV in my home. I never watch movies, nothing. But when I would get on the aircraft, suddenly I would watch movie after movie. I was thinking, what is this happening? Why am I so attracted to this crappy movie? It's horrible. I don't even like it. Why am I watching it? So I asked Guru Maharaj, I said, what is happening? Why am I watching? He said, are you eating the plain food? I said, yes, Guru Maharaj. He's saying, that's the problem. That's the problem. Do not eat what those people, because we don't know what is in that food, who has prepared it. I mean, it's just highly, you know, questionable what is going in. From that day, Namrata, I have never touched plain food. I carry only my own prasadam when I travel, and at the most, I may take a hot cup of water in which I add a tea bag or something, or fruits, because nobody can contaminate that. Ask for a whole fruit, wash it, offer it, and then eat it. But I do not touch the plain food, because airplane food, we don't know what is in it and who has cooked it and what consciousness it is in, and can cause so much distress, you know. So once I stopped taking that airplane food, I no longer even bothered about what was on the entertainment channel.
Hmm. Thank you, Mataji. So, on that note, I could just recall one thing that uh, the commodities which are really necessary in our day-to-day life. If I give you an example of one of the thing, like the crockery, okay, the cups in which we drink this tea, coffee, or even the herbal tea or whatever we drink, even they are made of bones of animals and all that things. So nowadays the crockery, they label it animal free, or something like that. People have started choosing those type of crockeries now. So previously nothing was like that. So all this, sometimes we don't even know that how they have manufactured, how they have done it. So what in that case we are like we are unaware and we are breaking those four regulative principles.
So I didn't know that crockery is having animal products in it. You're talking about glass, you're talking about porcelain, you're talking about plastic. What is exactly you mean?
No, this cups of tea, I think they are porcelain or ceramic ones.
Acha. Well, I don't know what goes into it. This is new information for me, so I'm unaware about it. But this is all newfangled stuff, you know. Previous days, they had clay cups, and clay cups were used once and thrown, and reused and recycled and used again. Hmm? The potter in the village, he would make different clay pots, clay cups, clay utensils. They were used and then used again. So, and in Yudhishthir's time, they ate on gold plates. Imagine that. So we have come a long ways from all that. Now we eat on plastic, paper, whatnot, and it is extremely harmful also for our health. So what can be done? We have to be extremely careful in choosing products that are good for our health. And it's becoming harder and harder even to find that because of the rampant corruption of everything at all levels and contamination of everything at all levels. What can be done?
Okay.
We have to be very careful to avoid these things because they are not good for our health. For even you know how much microplastics we are ingesting and drinking. Are you aware of how much plastic is going into our bodies? Every time you drink water out of a plastic bottle, you don't know how much plastic has leached into that water because from the source, the bottle can undergo very many temperature changes. If it gets very hot, and then after that again cool, that plastic leaches into the water and we're drinking that water. So all kinds of things are going on, Namrata. What to do?
Yeah, we have to be careful. Okay. On one more thing. When we say no gambling, and there are many devotees in the devotee community. I've seen that they deal with stock market thing. So uh, does that come in the gambling category? I'm not sure about that.
So this is a very, very loaded, I mean, very controversial question and a very relevant question also at the same time. You read that article in Back to Godhead magazine, a Hare Krishna in the stock market. Hmm? It is about this devotee Anand Vrindavan Prabhu, who came from a family of investment professionals and how he went on to handle the profession he had been given by being very strict, not doing any what is called day trading and short-term trading, but going for long-term investments in good companies, etc. So one has to be guided very carefully by the spiritual master. In fact, at one point he told his spiritual master, I think this profession is too dangerous and very polluted with so many nasty things. I think I should give it up. And Maharaj said, no, you do it, but you do it with full protection. That means you do not enter into the market in the morning until and unless you have chanted your 16 rounds and listened to a lecture. And since that day, he made that his gold standard to never do anything without chanting his rounds and listening to a lecture. So he is a stock market professional. In fact, he's one of the very, very successful ones. He guides a lot of people also. So unless one is very well trained like that and very, very God conscious, the stock market can be very bewildering and it can trap you because you can get caught in this illusion that you can control your desire to earn money. You can make a lot of money on the stock market. You can lose a lot of money on the stock market. That is there. So these things require a lot of guidance. And in general, ordinary people, we are told to stay away from all this because it is a form of gambling. Putting money to make more money, to make more money, it can become very addicting. That's the word I want to use. So we are not against the stock market. We are not against people doing it, but it must be done with a lot of guidance and in keeping with our principles. And one must be very expert in that. You read that article. It's there in Back to Godhead magazine. Hare Krishna in the stock market. And he actually talks about how he was offered a very lucrative deal by one person called Harshad Mehta. And Harshad Mehta told him, if
The
you do
scam.
this, you will
The
become a
scam.
multimillionaire. And his Hare Krishna mentors and everybody said, no, don't do it. Krishna doesn't need your money. You don't do this. And Harshad Mehta got so angry, he called him a fool and this and that and all. But he stayed away from that. And later on, Harshad Mehta was jailed and he died in jail.
Yeah, he's the one who was caught in the scam.
Yes, there was a huge scam. And then Anand Vrindavan says, Krishna and his devotees protected me. So it's a very dangerous terrain. Not everyone can do it. And one requires the strict following of the instructions given by the spiritual master to deal with the stock market.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I think we're 10 minutes past. So
Oh.
I think we can conclude if that's okay with you, Mataji.
Yes, that's perfectly all right. If nobody has any further questions or comments, we can stop right here. And I thank you very much, Dinanath Goranga, for very ably hosting this call.
Thank you. So, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Samaveta Bhakta Vrind ki jai.
Jai.
Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Thank you very much for today's class.